36 Thursday. I'm meteorologist Terry Smith from the Weather Channel for Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
Currently, it's 41 in Parkville, 42 in Pasadena, and it's 42 in Glen Burnie. I'm Maggie Hunter,
Burnie,
680 WCBM News.
The views and opinions you hear on Talk Radio 680 WCBM and WCBM.com are not necessarily those of the owners, management, employers, and advertisers of WCBM. But they should be.
You are about to hear the most interesting, informative, thought-provoking, opinion-leading, and funny show in America, on air and on the World Wide Web. This is the Rob Carson Show.
Did you miss me? I'm hearing a smattering of polite golf applause out there. Oh my goodness, this is the longest break from radio I've had since I was unemployed. It's kind of weird, but we're back on the air. We are back on the air. Today, bad and nationwide. And I mean bad in a good way. That's what I mean. You know, bad, like it's bad. We are bad and nationwide, and we're glad to be here today. How was your Christmas? How was your New Year's? I know that mine was spent separating myself to some degree from work, connecting with my family through all of the things we had to go through. Did a lot of cooking, did a lot of TV watching and whatnot. I watched a couple of really good things, a couple of really bad things. I watched Nick Cage's new show, A Dream Scenario, new movie. It was about a 6 out of 10, and then The Retirement Plan, which I literally had to turn off. And my wife, we paid $3.99 for it, right? And so we're watching Nick Cage in The Retirement Plan. And she's like, soldiering through a bad meal because you don't want to offend anybody. She's like, oh, no, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say. I said, honey, I know we paid $4 for this dang thing, but I'm not going to watch it anymore. Let's just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. And it was terrible. Then we watched The Maggie Moores, this new movie with John Hamm, which takes its cues from Fargo and Raising Arizona. I thought that was pretty good. Rotten Tomatoes viewers give it about a 7. I'd give it an 8. It's worth watching again. I thought it was pretty good. And then last night I kind of wrapped up the break from being on the radio. And I didn't take a break from social media, by the way. I was on social media. I put up a couple new videos about electric Hummers that got hundreds and thousands of views, and Instagram's exploding because of that. So I wasn't able to completely unplug, but last night I decided to watch Dave Chappelle's new special, and it's on Netflix. And I watched it, and I thought it was marvelous. And the reason why I thought it was marvelous is because Dave Chappelle is now a conservative. I mean, if you watch Dave Chappelle last night, if you watch the comedy of the most popular comedian in America right now, it's Dave Chappelle, and he delivered a message to those who would censor him. It was a big middle finger, among other things. And he made fun of the bad politics of Democrat-run cities, really waylaid Baltimore and all of that. And I was just like, whoa, this is not, never a mention of Trump, how bad Trump is, all those evil Republicans. None of it. None of it. Only criticism he had of the government was the left. And particularly the LGBTQIA plus people who are insane, just the people who had the plus and all that. And I'm not talking about gay people. I'm talking about the insane left who pushed this transgender nonsense. And he did not hold back any punches. And it was funny this morning. I'm going to share his intro to the show in 1 second here. But listen, here are the headlines this morning from Variety. Dave Chappelle's obsession with mocking trans people continues on Netflix. This is from Deadline. Dave Chappelle targets trans community and disabled in The Dreamer. That's that. This is a Daily Beast. Dave Chappelle's new Netflix special proves he's learned nothing. And what they're saying is that Dave Chappelle didn't buckle to the radical left LGBTQIA plus who tried to literally get him booted from Netflix. They picketed outside of Netflix, and Netflix told those people, hey, go work somewhere else. Go pound sand, if you will. And I think it's wonderful. I really, really do. I think it's wonderful. Let me see here. Dave Chappelle assumes we're already offended in new Netflix special. That's on Yahoo. And then Dave Chappelle roasts Lil Nas X in Netflix special, The Dreamer. That's from another website. Lil Nas X is a satanic rapper. I actually kind of liked him. He did a collaboration with Billy Ray Cyrus, and then he just went south and went completely insane. He was on MTV, the Music Awards, doing a strip dance, lap dance on Satan, kind of, and Dave Chappelle made fun of all of that. And why do I start the show with that? Well, it's because one of the things that I do, one of the arrows in my quiver, one of the weapons in my arsenal is mockery and satire based on truth. That's when it's really good. And I told you last year, and by the way, Happy New Year, and it's going to get all sorts of weird. We'll get into that. But Happy New Year, I said that some of the greatest disruptors in history are comedians. And if you look at like Dave Chappelle or, any one of a number of a myriad of the greatest comedians of all time, George Carlin, for instance, right now George Carlin is trending way high on viral clips of him foretelling all of the nonsense that we're going through. But comedians are the greatest disruptors. And think about the power of a comedian. How often do people just show up to see an individual with a microphone? All right, you may see these TED Talks, and they'll fill an audience, and you'll watch them on there. The only thing that I could see of one person with a microphone with such massive appeal is Donald Trump. And I'll be honest, 85,000 people in a South Carolina town of 3,500 go to see Donald Trump. That isn't just a political speech, because if that were the case, then 85,000 people would show up to see Nikki Haley. I know, it's absurd, the thought of it. but there's something about Donald Trump, but there's also something about the great comedians in history. They are the ones who command, outside of politics, outside of everything, they command the biggest audiences because people need to laugh. And if you could include truth in your comedy, which most good comedians do, then it has a mass appeal that is unmatched. And that's one of the reasons why I do it. That's one of the reasons why I brought comedy to the Rush Limbaugh program as a young kid right out of college and then for 20 years after. Because one of the weapons that I'm going to use in this coming year, which is going to be the greatest challenge to all of us as far as the existential threat against our country, mostly coming from within. But one of the most powerful things I can do is say, screw you, and I'm just going to wreck you on the air. I'm going to make fun of you. I'm going to deride you, and I'm going to make your point of view look so absurd that no person could possibly value you and your movement at all. And I'm talking about, Joe Biden, radical left, mainstream media, big social media, all of those. And the bud is off the rose on all of them. It is. And now, while they're down, we need to, like a good MMA fighter, pound the snot out of them. All right, and that includes, and I'm talking figuratively, that includes this radical anti-Israel movement. We have to just deride them, and then, if necessary, then if they want to attack or they want to burn or they want to whatever, then we'll consider defensive measures. But comedy is how we do it. So I wanted to start off with Dave Chappelle last night, and after all of the things that Dave Chappelle went through in the last year since his last comedy special, I think it was Sticks and Stones, where he talked about transgendered people and made fun of the transgendered, while also talking about a transgendered individual he became friends with, he actually allowed to open for him. So he's not a racist. But here is Dave Chappelle last night setting up the takedown of the radical left LGBTQIA plus movement, and he started with a story about Norm Macdonald introducing him to Jim Carrey years and years ago.
And what Norm did, which I'll never forget, is he knew that I was the biggest Jim Carrey fan in the world. Now, I'm not going to go all into it, but Jim Carrey is talented in a way that you can't practice or rehearse.
Yeah.
What a God-given talent. I was fascinated with
Robin
him.
Williams.
And Norm knew that, and he called me up and he goes, Dave, he says, I'm doing a movie with Jim Carrey. Do you want to meet him? And I said, yes, I do. And it was the first time I could remember since my father died being excited. In the movie, was called Man on the Moon. I didn't know any of this.
Yeah, it was an okay movie.
And in this movie, Jim Carrey was playing another comedian I admired, the late, great Andy Kaufman.
Gotcha.
Yes, and Jim Carrey was so immersed in that role that from the moment he woke up to the time he went to bed at night, he would live his life as Andy Kaufman. So much so that everybody on the crew called him Andy. I didn't know any of that. No. I just went there to meet him, and when he walked into the room where we were supposed to meet, I screamed, Jim Carrey! And everyone said, no! Call him Andy.
Yeah, do that.
And I didn't understand. And then he came over and he was acting weird. I didn't know he was acting like Andy Kaufman. Just like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, hello. Andy? Now, in hindsight, how lucky am I that I got to see one of the greatest artists of my time immersed in one of his most challenging processes ever.
Yes.
Very lucky to have seen that.
Oh, my God.
But as it was happening,
yes,
I was very disappointed.
Why not?
Because I wanted to meet Jim Carrey, and I had to pretend this was Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
All afternoon. And he was clearly Jim Carrey. I could look at him and I could see he was Jim Carrey. Anyway, I say all that to say, that's how trans people make me feel.
There you go. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That is the perfect setup for a punchline that says that when it comes to trans people, you're afraid to say anything because you know who they are and what they were, and now you've got to pretend like there's something else. Do you understand the joke there? Do you understand why Variety and these other idiots are screaming about it? It's funny. It's a great thing. And then he launched into making fun of handicapped people. And you know what? I'll bet you some handicapped people are like, well, hell yeah. Because you know what? There's no greater. To me, I don't think there's any greater privilege or, not privilege, but honor than to be made a target of Dave Chappelle. Because Dave Chappelle's one of the greatest comedians to ever walk the stage. So he made fun of the handicapped. And you know what? Handicapped people are probably like, you know what? I don't care. Because only white suburban Karens get offended for other people. So handicapped people are like, yeah, you know, go ahead and make fun of the fact that out in front of Lowe's, there are 50 parking spots for handicapped people, and none of them are ever full. Because if it were, there'd be 50 people in wheelchairs in Lowe's, and you never see that. But, you know, that's what the left does. So that's the brilliant thing about Dave Chappelle's comedy last night. I didn't get a chance to see it. I just thought it was excellent. And I think that humor is a great way to take down those who are committing these absurdities and thinking they can get away with it. And listen, the only way I was able to get around some verboten topics that were called disinformation and misinformation was to make fun of them. Like the COVID vaccine mandates. I did a parody of Take This Job and Shove It by Johnny Paycheck from way back when, and I did Take This Jab and Stick It. And guess what? I was able to get past the government censorship machine because I used humor to make the point. And we do that every day. And oh boy, are we going to do it today. Today we are going to make fun of Bill Clinton. He is Doe number 36 on the list of John Does for Jeffrey Epstein's Fantasy Island and Airplane. We got that coming up here. We've got a really bad news for Joe Biden about polling. We're going to talk about this Maine Secretary of State who decided on her own that Donald Trump committed an insurrection, even though no court has said he did and he's never been charged. She decided on her own, and I'm going to make fun the hell out of her today. You're going to enjoy this, I promise you. And then also we're going to look at the last year in gaffes. I've got some great montages featuring our president and the vice president of the United States. And by the way, remember that outlier poll that came out a couple weeks ago that showed her polling higher than Joe Biden? 35 to 34%. No, it was an outlier. She is still less popular than Joe Biden. I know it's hard to believe. It is hard to believe. I suggest if he wants to go up in the polls that he make I don't know, foot fungus, his running mate. I think if he made toenail fungus his running mate, he would go up in the polls because people can relate to toe fungus more than they can to Kamala Harris. So here's a number if you want to chime in today. I'm ready to have some fun. I'm ready to have some fun, and I'm ready to make this year a great year despite what the left wants to do. And they want to make 2024 into 2020, but worse. All right? So here's a number, 800-922-6680. This, my friends, is the first edition of the Rob Carson Show for 2024. Don't go anywhere.